Welcome to Family UI TV. Today we are installing a third light up here. There was never a light there. And the reason why we're doing that is because we're actually redoing this garage. So right now we're gutting the garage. Once we get everything out of here, through spackle and everything, painting everything, and then starting to build this green garage back out. But the first thing we're gonna do is run some wires, cut some holes in walls. So today in this video, regardless of what you're doing, I'm gonna show you exactly how you have a garage like this with a light there and a light there, how you can maybe add a light right in the center to add more light to your garage or to your room. So now let's talk about how we're gonna do this. So I have a switch here, right? We have a light here and we have a light here. A few things we need to think about is which way do our joists go? So in this case, our joists actually go this way. Boom, 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 boom. And how do I know that? I went up there with a stud finder and I basically went around and I just saw that, okay, every time I go this way, I see a stud. All right, so basically my studs run this way, boom, 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 all right? So what that means is most likely this wire from here goes up here, runs through the ceiling somewhere, connects here, right? And then there's a bay between here, an empty bay, and that goes to this light. Now the reason why I think that, and I pretty much know that, is if you look at this one, I took this out, there's only 2 wires in there, all right? So probably there's 2 wires in here, I'm sorry, 4 wires in here, and then it feeds this light, okay? What that means is right around here where I want to put my new box, there's probably a wire there, all right? Now what I did was I did use a device that I have to prove that the wire was actually in the wall. And you don't need to do this, you can pretty much guess like I just said. And the worst thing that would happen is you cut a hole in your drywall and you have to patch it up. But I have this thing called Wallabot. This will actually look into the ceiling, almost like X-ray vision, and tell you what's in there. And I went there into that area and I saw that there was a wire in there. So, you know, I'm pretty confident that there's a wire in my wall. And if you had the same setup and the same garage setup, you probably would also have a wire. We're obviously gonna have to cut a hole, right? So the hole, what we're gonna use to cut the hole is this device here. Basically just catches the dust. So you put this on here and this rotates, right? And this catches the dust. This is the actual cutter, okay? This is the center. You don't need to use something like this. If you don't have this, you can just use a normal drywall saw. No big deal. All right. Then we have 3 different options here. So this is like a soffit box, it's called. This is something where you just cut your hole, you put this up there, you run your wires through, and then you would, when you run these screws in right here, this pushes, these wings come out, right? And this pushes against the drywall. And this basically sandwiches itself into the drywall, and then you have your fixture underneath. You also have this fixture here if you want to put a ceiling fan, and we're going to put a ceiling fan in here later, but in the future we're going to have probably a ceiling fan. Now the problem, we can't use this one because our studs are 12 inches on center, and this thing is like 14 inches wide just itself, so it obviously won't fit up there. But this is something you could use. It's like a remodel box, ceiling fixture box, all right? In our case, this is actually what we're gonna end up with using. This is a ceiling fan box. And what this does, this sneaks up against the stud. So if the stud, let's pretend this was our stud in the ceiling. This will be attached like that. And then we'll run screws, 2 screws in the bottom up into it. You can run the wires in here, run the wires in here, or run the wires there. All right, so this is what we're gonna use. We're going to attach this to this stud right here. So this is where this box is eventually gonna end up. Size this up, and that is the right size. And if we made a mistake, we could keep this and use this to re-spackle it. All right, so we drilled our first hole, which was great. The only problem is we couldn't get our hand in there to find this wire, all right? So now, let me see that. Now what we found was, we had to drill another hole. So we just used the same one to drill the hole, because if you do it this way, it's a lot easier to patch it. Real quick, you're probably wondering, why do you have 2 holes? And I explained it in the video, but what I would do is I wouldn't drill the second hole if you have a finished ceiling. What I would do is just run the wires like I'm about to show you. The reason why I drilled the second hole is because I couldn't get my hand in because of where I put the box in, because I'm putting a ceiling fan in eventually. I had to drill that second hole. And I drilled the second hole because I knew I was gonna be finishing the ceiling at some point, just a few days later. As you can see, it's finished now. So I was okay drilling the hole, but you don't really need to drill a second hole. What I recommend is if you can't get the wire that's in there, just abandon it and just run a new line like I'm about to show you. So this is good. We drilled our hole, we found our wire. The problem is this wire is extremely tight, so we couldn't pull it down. There's not enough slack in there. So then we said, okay, no problem. We're gonna have to run another wire from one of these boxes, from either that box or that box. So we decided, let's go run it from this box. We're just gonna run a new wire from there to here, no big deal. Of course, we hit blocking. This is an exterior wall. There's a blocking right here, so we hit that right away. So no big deal. Now we're gonna go from that one. So now what we did is we ran a fish from that box to this hole here. What we're gonna do is we have a tiny hole in that box right there. So we have a big hole here. So that's why I fished it first through there and then out here. This is where we're gonna run our wire. So we have our ground wire. We'll just throw this through our fish here and bend it over. And then I'm just gonna like, kind of loosely, we probably don't even have to tape this honestly, but I'm just gonna get a loose tape just so it doesn't, basically just so it doesn't snag on anything. All right. And we're just gonna start feeding this through. All right, there we go. That's our wire. Now, we have a wire going from each one of these holes. There we go. So now what we have is we have a wire coming out of this one. This box has power, and that's gonna be our new box, all right? So this is good. So what I did was we fed this through, and then this is simply just gonna get pushed up, like so. And then we run a screw right through the center. And this really just nicely attaches to the box. So we cut back the sheathing, like so. We are gonna be doing a fan, but for now we're just gonna do a light up here. Strip the black off, the white off. All right, so the bronze, that's where our black will go, and the silver will be where our white wire goes. All right, and then we can just shove all these wires up there. Over here, it's just a matter of connecting all the same color wires. So all the whites, all the blacks, all together. So we only have 2 spots on here. We have 4 wires. So obviously it's not gonna work. So what we do is, basically we're gonna just wire nut all of these together. So I kind of make like a jumper. So I have 2 wires coming off of my fixture, and we're just gonna wire nut these together and wire nut these together. And then wire nut. And then the same thing for the white wires. Everything's working, so I think we're looking good. We are gonna put a ceiling fan there, but before we're gonna finish all this. Now what we're gonna do is quickly show you how you can patch that, all right? So we're gonna use a piece that we actually drilled out of that ceiling. We're gonna clean it up a little bit. Kinda wanna like taper it. You don't want this stuff sticking out, because when you use plaster and spackle, you'll have that. What we need is a piece of wood that's like maybe a 2 or 3 inches wider than the hole. And you want wood, okay? You don't want to use like MDF. You need something that the screws will actually bite into. We need some drywall screws, all right? You don't pick great, whatever size you have, that'll work. We're gonna push this in, and then we're gonna kind of center it. All right, then we're gonna take our screws while holding it in place. Do another one on this side. Then we take our piece of drywall, right? And you could, if you wanted to, you could always put a little glue on this or a little spackle on it before you shove it in the hole. We're not gonna be spackling for a few days here. We're just gonna put it in there and then run our screw in. That spackle up. All right, so that is how you could add a light to your garage. If this is something you wanted to do, you needed more light. We're gonna be using this for filming and doing all kinds of content creation in here. So we need as much light as possible. Also, we're in here in the summer and it's hot, so I think we're gonna put a fan in here just to kind of cool it down. Might also look cool up there. I hope this was helpful. I hope this helped you, gave you an idea. If you have any questions specifically about this project or any other project, I'm gonna ask you to leave me a comment down below. But I'm Mike, Found With UI TV, and I'm Ceiling Lights Edition, new light, tapped off of 2 lights. We thought we were going off that one, but we went off this one, out.